Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Aaliyah. If you have never been here before, and if you have never been here before, I promise you didn't really miss out on much. But this new year is a year of new beginnings for me, and I hope it is for you as well. I wanted to name this video 12 lessons I learned in the past 12 months because I was thinking a lot about what to film, and I was like, oh, like I don't have all of the knowledge about how to become the best version of yourself in the new year, or how to boss up in 2025. But what I do have, which God has blessed me with, are lessons that I learned through so many trials and tribulations and hardships and challenges that I endured in 2024. So, what I can bring into the new year with me, which happy new year, is lessons that I learned, and hopefully these will help you. And if not, maybe you can carry them with you to help somebody else. I struggled this year a lot with my identity and my circumstances, and just trying to figure out who I really am and what I'm meant to do. And it was a very, very difficult challenge, and I still struggle with that to this day. But I have been so much more at peace with my situations and the challenges that I face internally and externally. And so I just feel it's so very important, and something I love to do is talk, guys, and you guys should know this by now, but I feel it's so very important to take the experiences that God has placed within me, and to use that as a calling to help other people. Otherwise, what was I made for? Yeah, okay. All right, Billy. So let's just get into it, because I'm just gonna be very blunt and straightforward. I'm no perfectionist. I'm not perfect. I did not plan out this video. I simply just wrote down 1 through 12, 12 of the most important lessons I feel I learned in the past year. Number one is stop seeking validation from others. This kind of corresponds into why I was struggling so much with my identity, was trying to decipher the difference between who I am, what I love to do, what I enjoy doing, and what people want from me. And I struggled with this every second of the day, from the time that I woke up to the time that I went asleep, to the point where I figured it was consuming me. It was making me depressed. It was making me sad. I lost myself because I feel like I was so worried about what people wanted from me, and the type of person that they wanted to be me to be, and the type of person that they portrayed me to be. And I let that take away from who I really was. So from the time that I woke up in the morning, I was a people pleaser, which is number 2 on my list. But we're not going to get into that yet. But yeah, I was a people pleaser, and I would wake up every day thinking, okay, like how can I make other people happy? How can I give them what they want? What can I do to change something about myself to get the validation from others in order to make myself feel more secure? But the problem was, I was making myself more secure from the validation of others instead of loving myself. Instead of building confidence within myself, I was building confidence based on what other people had to say about me, based off of the approval from other people. And that is not how you love yourself. It took me so long to figure out how to really love myself. And no, I am not perfect. I don't even fully know how to love myself yet to this day. I still have my insecurities and flaws that I feel like live within me, and I make mistakes just like any other human being. But I beat myself up about them so much. But I think my biggest issue was learning where true love from within and loving yourself really comes from. And it does not come from the approval and the validation of other people. So stop seeking validation from other people. I'm going to draw my faith into this video just a little bit. And I came to the realization that the man above, God, and Jesus is a perfect man. He was created sinless. And he chooses every single day to love us how we are. So my question for myself was always, if he can love me however I am, however I come, why can't I love myself? If he created me how he felt fit me so perfectly, and I still wake up every single day and I pick out the things I don't like about what he gave me, it's obviously going to be a big learning lesson to start to learn yourself. Start to love yourself for who you really are and who God created you to be, and to love yourself even on your worst days. It's definitely a process and it's definitely a journey, but it starts from within and you have to start somewhere. And that's in your mind. That's in your mind and that's in prayer. What you feed your mind is what consumes you every day and is what controls you every day. So it is up to you to choose what you believe, what you want to believe. And I promise you, that is going to distinguish how you live. But, anyways, to get back to the point of stop seeking validation from other people, it's going to consume you, it's going to hurt you. And that man named Jesus, is the highest approval you can get. And Jesus already approves you because he created you. So why do you need approval from anybody else? Number 2 is stop people pleasing. This has always been a huge struggle for mine. A huge struggle for me. And I have struggled with this all of my life. Even before social media, I was always told, Leah, you're too nice to people. You need to learn how to say no. And although in some circumstances this may be very true, but the overall picture is people pleasing will hurt you. Because the more that you people please, the less that you give to yourself. And it is so important to put yourself before other people, to love yourself before you love another. People pleasing ultimately ended up hurting me because I was so blinded by the effects it would have on myself, because I was so worried about how I could make other people happy, how I could satisfy other people. You are worried about pleasing people who wouldn't even be pleased if you gave them the exact thing they were asking you to do. You are people pleasing people who would not even be pleased if you gave them everything that they were asking from you. And to draw on my faith just again, another time, God would. God would. God would be so pleased if you gave him everything that he wanted you to do. If you had obedience in God, he would be so happy. He would be so pleased. But man, mm-mm. And you wonder why things don't work out. And you wonder why you keep trying and you keep giving it and you people please just a little bit more and you make them happy again, and you think that that's going to please them enough to the point where you're going to feel satisfied. No, 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 no. That's not how people pleasing works. People pleasing doesn't work from, I'm going to please this person and I'm going to keep pleasing them and keep pleasing them and keep pleasing them until they are pleased enough to the fact that they please me back. People pleasing will hurt you. To go in correlation with people pleasing, people can listen to your problems, but that's all they'll do. So when you think about this, imagine a vent in your room. Vents, have you ever put your ear up to a vent? You can hear people's conversations in another room, and then that vent in another room can go to another room, and then that one will go to another room. What if you were talking to somebody through a vent? Your little siblings or whatever, whoever's on the floor below you, whatever, you're talking to them through a vent. You guys can hear each other talking. But what you're not realizing is that sound is traveling through the room, through another vent to another room. Stop telling people your business. Stop telling people about all of your problems and find some privacy in your life, because those problems that are traveling through those vents are traveling to other rooms that they weren't meant to travel to. People pleasers suffer abuse from the very people they're trying to assist. Like I told you, stop giving people what they want while abandoning what you need. Stop making the sacrifice to people please another person and giving them what they want, and you're abandoning what you need. And the purpose in that, and what I just said, is the difference between a want and a need. If you're giving somebody what they want, they don't need it, but you're taking away from the very thing that you need. How could you say, as a people pleaser, this is something I do? I say, oh, I would never betray anybody. If you were to ask me, like, would you betray somebody? I'd be like, no, no. But you're betraying yourself by people pleasing. So, how could you say that you would never betray someone else, but you betray yourself every day by keeping other people happy? Now, I'm not here to say that people pleasing is a very like wrong and vicious thing to do. There's a lot of pros that come out of, being a people pleaser, but there's boundaries that need to be set in people pleasing. And I think that was my problem, because people pleasing ultimately made me a kind person, because people would tell me, Aaliyah, you need to stop being so nice to everybody. And I was gifted with the blessing of being a nice and kind hearted person that I could use every single day. So there is good that comes out of this, but the boundaries need to be set. You were blessed with so much abundance and love, that you love people the way that you do, that you give so willingly and so selflessly. So the problem isn't what you do, but it's who you're giving it to. Number 3 is gain back your control. Now, I don't have notes on this one, and I haven't really thought about it enough, but I know it's such a big factor, at least for me. But I had to learn how to gain back control in so many different aspects of my life. And one of the most important was gaining back my control with my emotions, not letting my emotions get the best of me. Because when our emotions get the best of us, we tend to think that we can control things that we cannot control. So we're feeling all of these emotions, which, yes, emotions are normal in certain circumstances, but in other circumstances, we are emotional about things that are out of our control, instead of finding peace within the fact that it is out of your control. And no matter what you do, or what you try to do, or the sacrifices that you make, it is not your problem to fix. I'd like to say it's God's. There's still a lesson in this, whether that is something you believe in or not. Gain back your control by learning to control the things that you can control, and leaving the uncontrollable off to the side. Those things will eventually take care of themselves, and if not, then they won't. But it's not your problem to fix. So stop hurting yourself and draining yourself and feeling overwhelmed over things that you can't fix. Number 4, stop letting things consume you. I would like to say that I was a proud member of the No Caffeine Club for the past 2-ish months, maybe like 1 and some change. I gave up caffeine because not only was it, it's not good for your health, but it was truly consuming me mentally. I would like to say that the mental aspect of what caffeine was doing to me kind of overpowered, the health aspect. I wasn't so worried about, like, oh my gosh, like my body's gonna fail, because really I had them. I wasn't like a 3 monsters a day type of person. I was a half an energy drink and a Lonnie, or like a Ghost or a C4. Um, I would never really finish them. I could only like drink like half, but it gave me enough energy. Um, but it was consuming me in the ways that I lost my self control, because I was relying on something else to make me feel better, to give me energy, to start my day. And it kind of took away from the real purpose of my days. I had to learn to start my days with God instead of start my days with the crack of a can. And that's how you have a good day. That's how you have a powerful, fulfilled, energetic, not all the time, but it'll help, and productive day, instead of relying on caffeine or a good coffee. People say, like, they fall asleep and the only thing they can think about is their iced coffee in the morning. And now the only thing I can think about is waking up and just being blessed with the grace of God and being able to open my two eyes and breathe through my lungs again, and being given another day. And I know that might sound crazy sometimes, like the things that we say as followers of Jesus can sound maybe a little bit corny, but no, seriously. I would wake up, my feet would not even touch the ground of my house, the platform of my household yet, and I was already cracking open an energy drink. And then that would make me lose my appetite and I wouldn't eat for a while. And it was truly just like, it got to a point where I was like, oh, like, Aaliyah, this is taken over. Like, it got to the point where I'm one thing I would never do, I would never lie. It got to the point where I was taking pre workout to clean my room, guys. I was so down and so lazy. It was actually doing, I think, a counter effect at the time. It would work temporarily, and then I would just feel so down and tired and lazy and taking midday naps for hours all the time because it would work, and then it would completely shut your body down to the point where you were like, I need it again. And that's an addiction. That is something that consumes you. And I was taking pre-workout to clean my room, to get myself to get up and do something. That's how bad it was. So, no, I did not completely cut caffeine out of my life, but I had to learn how to control the things that are consuming me and how to let go and make that sacrifice for the betterment of myself. Because there is a bigger picture of why I just cut out caffeine. Like, I'm not just here to say, like, oh, you did something that probably you can't do. You can't go without your morning coffee, but I can. No, there was a bigger lesson that I feel like needed to be learned. And it definitely, it's paying off, guys. It's paying off. But I will tell you, since this video is going to be posted on New Year's, I don't know if it happened because this is being filmed a few days prior to, but I planned and I plan on drinking an energy drink on New Year's. You know, everybody pop open a bottle of champagne and I'm gonna pop open that energy drink and take a couple sips because I'm rewarding myself for the sacrifice that I made, and now I'm gonna learn how to control myself in moderation. Amen, preach, sister. Number 5. Just because they say it doesn't mean you have to own it. And this kind of goes into seeking validation from other people, and gaining back your control. These all kind of like correspond with each other now that I look at it. But to make this kind of really short and to the point, I pay attention to what everybody has to say about me, whether it looks like it or not. That's just the honest truth of it. And I've kind of learned how like much vulnerability is important, especially when you want to help people. There's no reason to lie and there's no reason to cover things up, but especially as a content creator, social media influencer, whatever you want to call it, I have my days where I kind of try to make it seem like, oh, like I'm not fazed by everything or anything, and everything's okay, and I'm not struggling with anything. But that's not the honest truth of it. And honestly, quite frankly, that will never be. But what people say about you when people try to bring you down, you don't have to own that. That doesn't have to be you. That doesn't have to be the type of person you are. That doesn't have to be the type of person that you become. So stop living in the truth of other people because it's not the truth. Stop believing what other people have to say about you. That's where we lack self-confidence, and that's where people push their own insecurities on us, and then we live our lives in other people's insecurities and we create those into our own. I have learned in my walk with God is that insecurities are not God given. That is not sent from God. If it's not sent from God, yeah, I'm gonna just leave that there. There's people who are struggling in this world with their own identity, with their own problems. There's people that are full of hatred and just overwhelmed with their life circumstances and question why their life is the way it is, and they're choosing to live their life this way. And it's not easy for everybody to distinguish their problems and want to make a change, because it was never easy for me too, and I'm not even there yet. But I have learned to give people grace. Even when people have like the absolute worst derogatory things to say about me, I give them some grace. The most I can do is pray for them, and that kind of goes into controlling what you can control. I cannot control what other people have to say. I can't control what's running through their minds that makes them think that those things are okay, or that, it makes them think that it's okay to bring other people down. I honestly can just pray for them, because people who do that are just insecure themselves, and they're struggling and they need some help. And that's not meant to take, I don't mean for people to take that in a bad way, like, oh, you need some help. But no, truly, like, loving one another is such an important thing in this life. And you have to learn that. You have to learn how to love one another as God loves you. So number 6 is change your perspective. I could go on and 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 on about this. But I just love how I didn't plan this video out, and I kind of just like just sat with my thoughts and made this long list, and how they're all just flowing into each other, which truly shows that, like, these aren't my experiences, guys. Like, this, yes, this is very truthful to me. But changing your perspective, which also flows into having peace, even when things are hard, even when people have bad things to say, even when people put you down, having peace in the situation. Instead of me getting angry and wanting revenge and wanting to say something back or put other people down, like, hurt people. And that's why I said that these people that are saying these things about you are just hurt inside, and they will hurt other people. So you have to truly heal and find peace in the matter, to learn that you don't have to be hurt as well, and you don't have to hurt back. You just have to, give them some grace, and just learn that maybe you were where they were at one time. And now that you've moved on from that, and now that you've learned, that doesn't mean judge them for who they are. Instead, give them some grace, and just pray that, they learn and they find peace and they find love. So changing your perspective can go so many different ways. Just changing the way that you look at situations, and you observe things around you, and not being judgmental is something that I had to really, really work really hard on these last couple months of the year, because I've grown up around judgment, um, and gossip, and just like, judging people off of their appearance or how they show up, or trying to, calculate their circumstances off of how they look, and just judging them for their character. And that's not fair. It's not fair, because we all go through things, and you never know what somebody's going through. You never know what you say might affect somebody. What do you get out of being a judgmental person? What do you get out of putting your power over somebody else's? Or like, internally, I truly think that we judge people because we think that we're better than them, but really, like, we're not much better than them. We're all still human beings, and we're all still learning how to live this life, in the time that we have it. And don't take tomorrow for granted, because you never know if you have tomorrow. So why would you want to live your days just judging and putting other people down? Because how does that benefit you? Because if you're judging people to make yourself feel better, what kind of person are you? Number 7 is rejection into redirection. Rejection into redirection, which also falls into changing your perspective. A lot of times we are faced with setbacks, and we're turned away from the things that we desire, um, and we feel like we failed. I have definitely had so many moments this year where I felt like, gosh, like, I failed. Like, what do I do now? And I put myself down because of it. And I get stuck in this, like, cycle of just like, why and why and why do things happen the way that they do? And like, I try to distinguish the problem? Okay, like what made me fail? But really, why don't we change our perspective into thinking, okay, well, yeah, this didn't work out, but how can this still help me? How can this further benefit me? How can this change me? I think I even started off this video by saying I struggled every single month with my identity, and I took every single trial, tribulation, hardship, and challenge, and I turned it into a blessing, because you just start to learn that there's a lesson and there's a purpose in everything that happens in life. Whether you like it or not, whether it feels uncomfortable, whether it makes you sad, whether it makes you angry, whether it makes you overwhelmed, whether it makes you, question why 100 times over and over again. You may not know the answer now. I'm preaching right here, but you guys just aren't really listening. You may not know the answer now, but you will eventually. It'll all make sense. So lean on God. Lean on God and not your own understanding, because things will work out. And that is something I learned, whether you like it or not. Like I said, not going to be a people pleaser, not going to let you hear, or I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. Instead, I'm going to tell you what I've experienced. So, number 8, take a step back even when you're up. It speaks for itself. Be humble. Be humble. The second that you feel your power and your authority and your monetary status and your social status and everything of that nature taking over and consuming you in life, take a step back, because one, it can be taken away from you so fast. Do not take anything for granted. And number 2, capitalization is real, and it'll rip you down, it'll tear you apart. Because truly, once you start to find peace and happiness from within in this world, in your character, in the way that you were created, in the blessings that you have that are like that cost nothing, your family, your friends, the air that you breathe, um, nature. When you find peace and happiness and joy and pride in the things that cost nothing, and the things that you're not seeking validation from, even speaking as a content creator, learning that my followers don't define me as a person, learning that my social status and my monetary status does not define me as a person, learning that your grades don't define you as a person. That can go one way or another. You fail, that's not you, and you're succeeding in school and you're getting A's when the next year you could fail. That does not define you as a person. But what truly defines you as a person is who you are, your character, what you give out. And I've finally truly came with the terms this year that you really do get what you give. Like, that is not just made up. You get what you give. So anyways, don't capitalize on what you have when you're up. Be humble about everything. Be grateful for everything. Be thankful for everything. And don't capitalize off of it. Don't let it make you who you are. Because once that's ripped all away, you're going to feel like you're nothing. But if you're grateful and you're thankful for what you have, and you know who you are as a person, and you're selfless and you're kind and you're loving, and you find peace, love, joy, and happiness in the little things, and you have, you know you're financially stable and whatever that may be, and you have some of the things that you desire, but you don't capitalize off of it. Oh my goodness, look at you. So, but then imagine all of that's taken away, but you're still a loving, kind, compassionate person. It's not going to get to you, because look at who you are. And when you are that type of person and you have those characteristics, you can do anything. But when you capitalize off of this and it gets taken away from you, and you're not a loving, kind, compassionate person, and instead you're a greedy person who likes to have power and authority, and you like to feel like you're better than people, when that's ripped away from you, you are nothing. You are nothing. And then you're going to start questioning why things happen the way you do. But look at what kind of person you are. Look at what your world revolves around. You know what I mean? So, anyways, number 10, it is never too late to change. And I'm kind of just going to leave that as it is. I've talked a lot about change here, if you haven't noticed, and the things that I had to change about myself and in my head. And it's truly never too late. Don't ever feel like you've wasted time and now you're behind people and it's too late to change. And so you're going to live in the same cycle over and over again. Because to me, that sounds miserable. To not be satisfied with your way of living, but to choose to live in that cycle continuously for the rest of your life. It's never too late to make a change. Maybe your change is now. Maybe this is your calling, that it's time to change. And change is never ever a bad thing. Change is never a bad thing. Never number 11 is you truly need to love yourself before you can love another. And this doesn't mean in an intimate relationship, really. This just means that you have to be in tune with yourself and who you are as a person before you can give that to somebody else. Because when you're hurt, or even when you're in the midst of healing, you are not ready to love another individual. I'm sorry to break that to you, but there's learning in the healing process. Don't ever rush a healing process. Don't ever feel like you're still, hurt and healing at the same time and you need to get out of this loop and find your happiness, because you're going to seek happiness in the things that aren't going to provide for you for long. You're going to seek temporary happiness. So don't ever rush a healing process. But most importantly is, if you don't love yourself before you love somebody else, you're going to depend on that person to love the things that you don't love about yourself, that you haven't yet loved yourself about. You're going to depend on that person to make you secure about your insecurities. But you need to deeply, like from within, pull those out, like rip those out of the ground. And I don't know. I don't really know how the planting process works, but you need to rip those weeds out the ground and you need to plant flowers, okay? You need to take those insecurities out and you need to plant the seed to start loving yourself before that. And then when that flower blooms, babe, you're a beautiful flower and now you can be a beautiful, loving person for somebody else. But let me see if this is going to work out the way I want it to. But if you rip those insecurities out, so you rip that that weed out the ground, and you plant the seed, but you don't water it. But you don't water it with your own purified, loving water, and instead it's somebody else's. That water is going to be contaminated. You're still watering the flower, still going to start to grow, but it's not going to grow into the same loving, beautiful flower that it would be if you would just love yourself first. Does that make sense? I don't know if I just preached or not, or if that didn't make any sense to you, but you get the point. Don't rely on other people to love the things that you don't yet love about yourself, because one, you're either going to end up hurting yourself more or you're going to hurt another person. Number 12, to wrap up this video. Don't get emotional. All right. Number 12 is God's goodness was running after me for a long time. And I saved this one for last because this truly wraps up my year. I was lost in the very beginning of this year, even in the middle of this year. It took until the last 2 months that I really started to find myself. Now, I'm going to be humble and I'm not going to say that I know myself and I'm so good and I'm better than everybody and da-da-da-da. I'm going to humble myself like I preached about, because that's not true at all. But I had to make sacrifices in my life to be happy again. And when you start to look back when I started to do my own little like recap of my year and look back at the person that I was January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, I looked lost. You could see it in my eyes. My smile wasn't the same. I looked lost. And I was. Um I was lost. And I still am just a little bit, I'm still kind of like finding my way, finding my path. But all with the grace of God and God's promise to me that He has a plan for me. In the Bible, it says, if you trust in God, like God will give you what you desire. But that kind of humbled me a little bit too. And I felt a little bit convicted by it. And I was like, no, like, I want what God desires for me because I know what He wants for me is so much better than what I want for myself. And I had to find peace in every single situation, thanks to God. And that's what made me happier because even when I was scooped down to a really low, I still had faith in Him and I still trusted that, there's a purpose in everything He does. And instead of questioning why and waiting for an answer, I kind of just sat with Him and was like, all right, like, I may not know why now, but eventually I will, and just had peace. So one of my the biggest lesson that I learned this year um, is that He will give you peace in every single challenge, every single hardship, amen, every single trial, and every single tribulation, like I repeated over and over in this video. He will. Once you find that, it's such a fulfilling feeling because I was living with, a lot of stuff that, people aren't even blessed with or have the opportunity of having that in this life or don't have it now. I'm a content creator. I was gifted with a platform. But when I really started to think about my platform, I had these thoughts and I was like, oh, I don't think I want to do social media anymore. And that was last month. Last month, I was like, I don't want to do social media anymore because why, Leah? Because it's consuming me. Well, how is it consuming you? It's consuming you because you're seeking validation from others, because you're people pleasing, because you need to gain back your control and learn yourself. You need to let go of the things that are consuming you and the people that are consuming you and the thoughts that are consuming you that are controlled by the people that are consuming you. And just because they say it doesn't mean that you have to own it. You need to change your perspective. You need to take rejection. And when your views are low or people have mean stuff to say, or when you're losing followers, you need to redirect yourself and find out what your true divine purpose is. You need to take a step back, even when you're up, even when you're doing good on social media, even when something's working out for you. You need to take a step back. You need to be grateful. You need to be grounded and don't capitalize off of it. Never take anything for granted. It's never too late to make a change. And you truly need to love yourself before you can love another person. I just repeated every single lesson that I learned, and I can apply it to every aspect of my life. So, with me making this video, I had to take rejection and the things that I felt were bringing me down. I had to redirect myself. So instead of taking a break, instead of quitting, it was really heavy on my heart to take a break and to redirect myself and to gain back my control and to take a step back uh, and to learn that it's never too late to change and that I don't have to be the person that I was a few years ago or the person that people are used to me being because I've changed and I've had a change of heart. And whether you like it or not, because I'm not people pleasing, God's goodness was running after me this whole time, and He has blessed me with the greatest blessing He has ever blessed me with this year. And that was beginning to find myself again. Whether this helped you or not, those were the 12 lessons that I learned in the last 12 months. I hope this helped you. And like I said, it is never too late for change. So give to yourself this year and Happy New Year. Bye, guys.